Welcome to Ngosi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Find your own voice. Over to you, Carol Ann. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you. And good afternoon from London, UK. And, oh, excuse me. Where does a frog suddenly come from when you want to speak? And it's the same with your writing. You get a block. And this is who I support, people that have that block. Soul-driven entrepreneurs that have got a story or a message that they want to get written. And I help them to become more productive with their writing, to clear that block, to get in touch with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they actually experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their book written, getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of that has come about through my own journey of unlocking the writer within, clearing that frog, freeing up that writer, and freeing up those words. Thanks, Nomsa.
Over to you, John. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
That was a great setup there, Caroline. Well done. I like the way you used your frog in the throat. Relationships are the keystone to the quality of life that we are able to experience. And having a healthy relationship with yourself will dictate whether you have healthy relationships coming into your life or not. The things that we believe about relationships, the patterns that we get ourselves into, the attachments that we make when we're younger, will all influence your ability to not only bring quality relationships into your life, but dictate how your life will turn out. So being able to understand where you come from as far as those are concerned is going to be massively important in order for you to live the quality of life and gain the success that you want. And that's why I am the relationship guy, and I'm a coach to professional single women over 40 who want to get into healthy, intimate relationships.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. So our topic today is how to upgrade your life and success through the right relationship. There is the right relationships. So, John, you chose this topic. So could you please explain the topic to our audience and what it means to you? You're muted, John. Can't hear you.
I'm back now.
What happened?
I didn't unmute myself. So yeah, as I said, when in the introduction there, relationships are key to the success of your life. There's actually a study by Grant study, which is Yale University. It was a 75-year study into happiness and how the quality of your life directly correlates to your happiness. And the major factor in how the quality of your life turns out is the quality of your relationships. So as far as this topic is concerned, we need to look at something around how you try to cultivate relationships that will continuously develop you as a person and enhance your experiences of life. You may find that the relationships that you have are a hindrance to your ability to find success, and you might find that they're stopping you from moving into the spaces that you want to. Or you might find that actually you've noticed that there are relationships you've had in the past which have been very beneficial, and that they have a real positive influence on the things that you're able to achieve in your life. There is a concept called the self-expansion model, which states that our potential as human beings is contextual and relational, and that the resources a person can put towards their goals, achieving their goals, comes through relationships. And it doesn't matter what those resources are. They could be financial, they could be people giving you information, they could be encouragement, they could be positive networks. It could be any kind of relationship that you have. But the quality of those relationships and whether they're nurturing and supportive and positive are going to influence how your success in life will turn out. If you have, they say that you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. So if you spend a lot of your time with people that don't have any ambition, that have terrible relationships, that waste their lives, don't have kind of the positivity around them, or always in a negative mood, always having something to moan about, that will influence who you are and how you live your own life. So it's very important that you understand the relationships that you bring into your life, the ones that you are living actually today, so that you understand what it is about those that can help you or hinder you to find the success and help you to upgrade your life through having those relationships.
I know what you said there, and there's something you said, John, about having relationships that are supportive, and I just suddenly thought, actually, when I was married, I actually had somebody who was always negative and questioning, and my dad always questioned, but I didn't get that it was a negative. But with my husband, he always questioning, and it seemed like I had to fight to get what I wanted, or to get where I wanted to go, or to do anything. Mm-hmm. And I think that's who I was then. I enjoyed that battle, that determination to, no, I'm going to show you, I'm going to get this done. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've realized over the last few years, where I don't have that anymore, because I do have supportive relationships around, and I think there's maybe a part of sometimes my inner fire is gone because I don't have that battle, so I think I've had to sort of work with myself to sort of shift that, and look at that in a different way. So sometimes it's maybe looking at who we are and what we've attracted into our lives, and how that does, it can boost you if you're somebody that likes to show and think, I remember I had this like an iron rod in my back that would go, no, don't you tell me I can't do that.
Yeah. And, you were motivated by that too.
Yeah.
But actually you weren't encouraged, like you said, or supported in order to achieve anything.
No. But my parents always did encourage us. And, I said my dad questioned. They always encouraged us to achieve and to learn more things, and to expand our knowledge and experience. So I'm always grateful for that. But my husband ex-husband, he didn't actually get that as a child or growing up, and he always put down his success within his job to me, pushing him, and making him sort of sit the exams he had to in his job, and then able to get up into the ranks and get promoted.
So you were always asking them questions at that time then for him?
Yes. Yeah. And I remember him saying at one point, he said, "You're too ambitious for me." And I remember thinking, what?
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, but bless, it worked in its own way then. But then I think realised that I did outgrow that, and things changed. And I've come to know me now, so I'm grateful for the split that happened, and the parting of the ways, because it actually helped me to come and find me, and actually then define what I wanted in a relationship, and understand relationships. But I've also come to realize that people that I've attracted that maybe I don't like sort of using the word good or bad or right or wrong, but maybe they're challenging me in some way, or they're not helping me to move forward. I then look at the reflection and I'll work on myself. And if, I feel that person's holding me back, as I say, I look at that reflection, work on myself. And it's amazing how those people then they go.
Yeah.
Literally, all of a sudden, and there was one lass, she was literally just like that. Boom, that's it, done.
Yeah.
She left me a message saying, "No, that's it." And I'm going, wow. But we did some great work together, and but I got to a point where I'm thinking, I'm feeling held back here. What needs to happen here? What do I need to learn to allow this to move on in a different way? And as I say, something shifted. Boom, that was it. Never seen her again.
So you changed the dynamic of that relationship because she was uncomfortable with.
Yep, totally. Yeah. So that's that's how I tend to work with it now, rather than sort of labeling it's right or wrong. But yeah, you're right. It is when you've got somebody that's there and rooting for you. It's a totally different dynamic energy.
Yeah, definitely. And I had the opposite. I had the opposite with my parents. My parents weren't present at all.
No.
They basically didn't show any interest in my life whatsoever.
Oh gosh.
So therefore I grew up having to do everything myself, but actually not having the confidence in my own capabilities, because I was never supported. I was never, I was never helped with homework. They were never interested in my homework at school. They weren't interested in my athletics career when I got older. In fact, my mum even said to me a few years ago, "I'm really proud of what you've been able to achieve. I didn't think you'd ever be able to do anything like that."
Wow.
So, those are the kind of messages that I received as I was growing up, and I absorbed all of those subconsciously. And as you said, then I started to attract very similar people into my life that could never be in my space to encourage and support me and push me forward. And so my lacking self-belief was never able to kind of improve, because I was never with the right type of people to show me that there was that right support, the right encouragement. They were doing the kind of the positive things themselves that I could then aspire to. Even when I was doing my athletics, the people that I trained with, some of the time, you'd come across people that, would be very positive about you. My coach told me that I had so much talent. He'd never seen anyone with as much talent as me before. And it's a shame that I was wasting it. But rather than me taking that on board and utilizing that positively, I took that as a criticism and slacked off even more. So, it's about kind of, if at the time, if he'd have said, "Look, what I mean is, let me help you to get better," which he was in a way, but not, I never felt like they were, if anybody was really behind me. So it's interesting, isn't it, that how we support ourselves based on how we get supported as we're growing up, and that relationship that we have with ourselves is key to what we allow into our lives and what we'll attract towards us.
Definitely. Yeah.
I agree with you, John. You know, when it comes to relationship, sometimes some relationship can be a hindrance. I'm actually surprised that you're saying your parents were not supportive, but you actually kept going, because that means your instructor was right, because you have that drive within you. And can you imagine if you had just one champion, that one person to actually push you? I'm glad you are here, but I don't think you'll be here at Ngozi Talk Show if you had to find the right person, because I think there was so much potential in you. Because if you don't have supportive parents and then you still succeed, that means you're using that 50% energy, and then parents bring 100%, because it can drive you basically to actually be proud, but you kept going, and that is a tough thing. So I give you credit for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I look back now, I mean, I trained 6 or 7 times a week for athletics. And that was all on my own back. I would take myself off to training. I would take myself off to competitions. I would do everything myself. That's what I learned as a child, that I was very responsible for my own outcomes, but never really believed I could have a positive outcome. And same through this, really. Even when I kind of started my journey into coaching, it was really getting a little bit of support here and there, and people just nudging you in the right direction and making you believe in yourself a little bit more, that was able to make me recognize actually that I'm very good at what I do, and I've got a lot to offer to the world, and I just need to get myself seen and put myself out there in order to get my voice heard. And that took, you know, it took me into my 40s before I actually really believed in myself in any sort of shape or form. So
it's amazing. That's really, really amazing, because for me, I got so much support, like Carol Ann. My parents were very, very supportive, and with my grandparents as well. And I look back now, I imagine the way my grandmother used to treat me. Honestly, I was an adult. When I was 9, she would be talking to me, like telling me about her marriage, how marriage works and things like that. And that's how my parents were supportive. But when it comes to decisions, they were very, very clear that when you want to make a decision, you have to know that in your dreams, you're on your own. You can tell people and try to convince them to support you, but your dream is your dream. So I've always put that in my mind. Even now, if you hear me saying something, that means it's done. I find one person to tell, so they're not going to talk me out of it. They're going to guide me through, or they're going to help me through challenges. When I come and tell my family and saying I'm doing this, it means that I've gone through the heartache of planning. I've gone through everything with that person that I've chosen that is a champion. And when everyone else keeps saying, oh, no, you can't do that, I'm laughing. I'm like, I've already done it. So that's how my parents taught me that. Just find one person that is willing to support you, that is willing to cry with you, that is willing to fall with you. And when you talk about the relationship of being a hindrance, Carol Ann, her husband, is an example that sometimes you have to find that drive. She was able to pull through with her husband because she had that push within her to say, no, you can't stop me. But not everyone has that courage. Some people will completely stop. If you have a critical somebody, or husband, or a wife, or a partner or spouse who is critical, it's very, very challenging to actually go on and fulfill your dreams. It's not easy. But you were able to actually conquer that, Carol Ann, and have the courage to actually say, no, actually, I am capable of doing this, and I am going to do the things that you say I can't. And my ex said to me once, he looked at me and he was like, Nomsa, you are actually annoying. Really, really, really annoying. And I was like, what do you mean I'm annoying? He was, you are annoying, but you get things done. Because I have this attitude that every decision that I make with my daughter, with regard when it comes to my daughter, he is the father. Regardless of him being negative about it, he's got to know it before I do it. So I always tell him, and then he will mourn and mourn and mourn, but he knows that she's not gonna stop. He might as well support me. So he knows that attitude, that when I decide to support my daughter, if she wants to do something, I just go for it. But we don't do things without telling him. So I remember I wanted to do something for my daughter because I knew she was capable of doing this. And I was like, we've got to do this. We've got to go and support. And he was like, are you having a laugh? I was like, yes, I'm not having a laugh, but I want to do it. She wants to do it. Let's go. And he went through that journey. It was like, I think he was like, I'm just going to go through with it. And the process was a good outcome as well. Where he was like, you are very, very annoying. You don't give in. I was like, it is life. That's how I was raised, that when the opportunity comes, you have to go for it. If that's what you want, if you get a no answer, but you can look back and look at the process and learn from it. So he was like, he just looked at me and was like, you are very annoying, but you get things done. And I was like, that's a good thing, Dad.
Yeah, and thank you for what you're saying. And actually, I don't know that it was courage. I didn't see it as that, because to me, it was more rebellious. It was like, don't tell me I can't do that, you know? It didn't mean I believe, because I'm still finding lack of belief in myself coming up in various ways, you know, over the years. But it was more a case of, no, I want to do this. And I was determined to do it. And I remember in particular, I had the opportunity to sit for my degree, a Bachelor of Science in Maths. And I actually got day release from the company that I was working for at the time. And unfortunately, I was able to go into the second year. So I only had to do it in 3 years rather than 4, because my teaching certificate got me into the second year. And I hadn't got a teaching post at this time, but this job that I had, I mean, the way things fall about is amazing, how these stepping stones sort of show up. But I remember my ex-husband at the time saying, oh, well, that means we're stuck here, because he sort of still had that wanderlust of maybe we needed to move or we want to go somewhere else. And I say, well, I want to do it. I said, but if we move, I can do it somewhere else, you know? I'm not going to not do it just because you think we might have to move, or you might want to move and it's holding you here. As it's not holding you here. And it was that, because it was something I wanted to do, I was interested in, and I just thought, no, let me see if I can get through this. And actually what was interesting was at the end of the second year, we had an exam, and because of the sort of it was pulling me down, all the sort of negative talk and the everything else, the sort of stresses that were going on at the time. And I sort of almost gave up. And literally I passed that exam by 1 mark. And the head of the department called me in at the college and said, you know, look, you've passed, but it's only by 1 mark. And actually, we sort of might, you know, like sort of recommend that you don't continue. And I said, well, actually, I was giving up and I didn't actually revise that much, but I want to continue. And he said, okay, if that's the case, then okay. And that is what it took. It like, right, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do this. And literally that gave me that fight to continue for the next 2 years and actually do it and put everything, you know, into that. And yeah, I did end up passing it.
That's an amazing beat to be able to have that kind of reaction to something. So long as again you're doing it to get a positive result. I think I think you probably know now that's only going to get you so far, though, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, because if that person doesn't come and challenge you, you're not going to see it through. And I guess we know, you know, like I just said, you need to be able to make sure that you just don't cut your nose off to spite your face.
Yes.
I'm not just going to do this because you don't want me to. I'm going to do it because you don't want me to, but it's also going to be really positive for me. But to find that inner belief now that you've got is a much bigger and more positive thing to have, isn't it? Because you will push yourself forward because you know you want to achieve something, rather than you're going to push yourself forward but just because someone doesn't believe you're going to, or doesn't want you to achieve something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I know what's interesting was that actually, having got that degree, when I eventually did get a teaching post, it took me up, you know, I started up on the pay scale ladder higher up than I would have done if I hadn't got it, you know. So, yeah, and it gave me that confidence also to step into secondary teaching maths, because I trained as an infant school teacher, because I didn't have the confidence that I could teach the older ones. But having that and the way things fell into place, the opportunity arose to get a post in a secondary school teaching maths. It just gave me that confidence to go, okay, I can do this. And I did. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, as I say, it's funny how things sort of show up to show you the way, and it's picking up. And I think, hello, someone's joined us. Beautiful. So, but yeah, I think sometimes I'm missing that. Although I have support around me, I want this. There's something missing for me, because I feel like the word languishing comes to mind. I'm drifting a little bit, even though I still have this, come on, Caroline, you can do this. You know, you know what you do. But there's still an element of, oh, I don't know.
So you're still motivating yourself. You don't have those people around you maybe that can support you and push you in that positive direction.
Yeah, it is that push. There's the support. If I say I want to do something, it's great. But yeah, it's that push. That come on. Yeah, that is certainly a missing factor. So thank you. That's really highlighted that. Yeah, it's that this frog in the throat. I think it's me actually reaching out and asking.
And that's why you
got support.
Yeah.
Yes, because I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not reaching out and asking. Okay. So interesting.
Hey, Elena.
Morning.
Yeah, what's happened? Do you always have trouble coming on?
Yes, I do. I don't know what's going on.
You're here now. I
am, and I thank you for emailing me the link again.
Okay, so what is your perspective on this? How to upgrade your life and be successful through through the relationships?
Oh yeah, it is so important to surround ourselves with good people, right? Because when we surround ourselves with people who are good and who have our best interests in mind, they're looking out for our same goals, our things that will enhance our lives so that we can become our better selves. And then it enhances the relationship with them. So it's so important that we have those right people around us with the like-minded goals, like-minded ideas, yet they support our individuality.
That is so true. We do need people who are supportive. I think the tribe is very, very important. I listened to Peter Sage, when he talks, basically on all his webinars, he always encouraged people to say, be curious, be cautious about who you're surrounded by, the tribe, your tribe, the relationship that you have, even the people around you. You have to, because your success, it will determine by those people around you. If you hang out with people that don't know anything about success, who are always depressed, mourning and complaining, you're going to join that. I was in that club before. You know, there's a club where they say when you have children, you go and meet up with moms, play groups and stuff. So I did that when I had my first daughter. You go to the first groups and you toddler groups, and you listen to the parents. Some of them are very, very motivated because it was like my first time being a parent, and they'll be mourning all the time until I actually decided, I'm going to spend time at the library. Basically, my daughter became the A student because I was spending time at the library. I was like, okay, I'm going to find a mom that likes library, and we're just going to hang out there. And there was one parent, she used to run the group as well, singing group, and we'll go to the singing group, and then we'll go to the library after, because I was on maternity leave, so I needed things to be done. So we spent time at the library. She became an A student by just spending time there.
Yes, they say if you want to know who you are, look at the 5 people that you hang around with, the closest people that you hang around with, and that's a great reflection. And so you were around someone who enjoyed their group, but also enjoyed going to the library, and then your daughter benefited from your relationship.
What about you?
You're saying about the 5 people that are around you. Yeah, that's interesting, because I sort of look around and I'm going, okay. So, because I've just looked at the sort of that question, what do I need to sort of do to improve relationships in my life? And it's like, well, what relationship needs improving so that my life could improve? And I think maybe that's something I could do, is look at those 5 closest people and what's not quite supporting or giving me that push that I've just identified that is missing, you know, and maybe start shifting some energy around that, because they're only reflecting a part of me. So I think I can go in and work on that part of me.
The importance of those relationships to you as well, and the influence that those people are able to exert over you.
Yes.
You know,
because I feel like I'm being held in a space at the moment. And maybe that's something for other people to look at, you know, if they feel that they're not moving on and that relationships aren't very positive or supporting them. What is it supporting? Because there's something you're gaining from it in some way that isn't actually healthy, that isn't helping you move on. And I think that's something to explore. So, yeah.
What are you holding? How did you get into those relationships in the first place, and what are you still there for?
Yes.
Like you said, what are you getting from that? Is a very important thing to understand, because you will be getting something from it, even if it's not very good.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding what that is for you that allows you to stay in that space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you talked about, you said the word influence. And it is true, you know, that there is some type of influence. And oftentimes we don't look at our relationships and say, what kind of influences are they pouring into me, and what kind of influence am I pouring into them? And so as we are looking at those relationships, that word influence that you gave, you know, it really, we make ourselves reflect on what kind of behaviors do I exhibit around this group and around this group, and why, right? You talked about what is that motivating thing? What am I getting out of that relationship? And, you know, oftentimes we don't reflect. And so that is another step a person might take, is just to pause and to reflect on that impact and the influence. And does it align with what I want to be, that person, the inner being of who I want to be, as we look at our identity and say, you know, is this the person that I see myself? Do I want to be this way? And if not, you know, what kind of influence do I either need to make, or maybe there's an abandonment that we need to have and separate between with some of the relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Is what is it about that? Is it about you that's keeping you within that circle of friends, or your circle of influence? Is it because of the stuff that maybe you're lacking in self-belief, lacking in self-worth. You're not able to have the confidence to step out of that comfort zone of being with those people. You don't believe in yourself maybe enough to be able to say, okay, I'm sticking with these people because they keep me in this space. And although that's a space that may be keeping me stuck, it's a space I might be comfortable with because I don't have that belief in myself. Maybe I do struggle with imposter syndrome, or maybe I've got those issues from my past where I didn't, as well, we sort of touched on earlier on, that you weren't supported, you weren't encouraged, and you don't know how to push yourself forward and move things on.
What just popped in my head as you were talking, that it's like they're a safe space, aren't they? They're comfortable.
A familiar space.
Familiar, that's right.
Yeah.
And what could also be there is a fear that if you change somehow, they'll go. And then what? you know, it's like that fear of rocking the boat, and some those people, going on and moving away. And it's like, well, what then? So knowing that this has happened before, where I've changed and people have gone, and it's been okay at that time, but there's been one or two that have gone and I've gone, ooh, but other ones I've taken it as it's come. But again, it's like, oh, what could happen? So there could be maybe there's an uncovered fear that if I do step up and step out, that they'll go. And then it's like, oh, I'm left on my own. But really, because actually maybe someone else could then come in. Maybe that is what's stopping the other people coming in. It's an interesting thought. I might explore that one.
Yeah, I think Elena mentioned the word abandonment, didn't you? I think
yes, that's what brought it. Yeah. God, I'm going to be abandoned, left on my own. Oh my God.
Yeah, and where does that leave you? Again, especially if you did grow up in a supportive household. Again, when unfortunately, we could come to rely on other people maybe too much to push us forward if we don't sort of develop our own kind of independent space as well. It's just noticing where the balance is. I need to be able to do this for myself, but actually I can achieve so much more if I've got the right circle of people around me that are going to get me, move me forward. But if we're just relying on everybody else to take us there, then when they're not there, then what do we do?
Yeah. That's a great question.
I think it's important also to understand that when you have that fear when people go, just to let them go, knowing that I watched Lucifer, and there was a part where God was saying, whenever they had crisis, he would play the music and everyone started being happy, and Lucifer would be like, what are you doing? And I'll be like, I'm changing the atmosphere. So I was like, okay, so what he's doing is trying to say, no matter what you're going through, you still have to have joy in your life. So every time the situation changes or people leave, I always say nothing lasts forever. And then I look back to our relationship, what I've learned from that relationship, because every relationship you learn something. And mostly from the people that are critical, you learn something from them. Who speaks the truth. Most of the people that speaks the truth, I like to hang out with people that are truthful. I don't like to hang out with people that tell me what I want to hear, because it is never ever going to build you. If you hang out with someone and you're wearing something, it doesn't look good because you can't see it in your point of view. And you say, oh, can you look at it? Does it look right at the back? And they're like, yeah, you're okay, you're fine, because they don't want to upset you. So I like people who are truthful. It does help when you hang out with people that are building you, that are supporting you. I think it is good. And also if you are a good listener, because in order for people to hang around, you need to be able to listen to their point of view as well. Even if it means that you can do things your own, but it means that just give them 5 minutes to listen. So that's how I keep relationships. I hang out with people. I support their beliefs because I know that we are two different people. So we have different beliefs. Although we believe in same things, but what we believe is going to be different. It doesn't mean we can't hang out. But I always listen to their point of view. It does help me. I asked one of the speakers, the five speakers about Ngozi Talk Show, and one of them, she was really, really critical. And she actually helped me to actually find the information that I wanted, because the criticism, I didn't take it as a criticism. I was like, okay, I'm going to use what she said and look at something. And then I started looking online. Actually, I find a very, very useful website. And now I'm actually studying their module comes to health and everything. I'm actually planning my health and planning my relationships, how to be a parent, proper parent, dealing with my children at home, instead of me saying, you're just going to listen to what I say. So just building that relationship, working, and also looking after my health. I'm on point with my smoothie every day, green smoothie. So that was coming from a critical point, and it made me actually go and do some research about something. So that's what relationship is about. When you are surrounded by people who are truthful, and also having that mind of receiving it from a beautiful heart, because some people, they criticize you because they want you to grow. They don't want you to stay the same way. But some people criticize for the sake of criticizing. So you have to define those kind of relationship. And you can't stay with people that criticize for the sake of criticizing. That is a toxic relationship.
I think someone that's going to criticize you positively will give you an explanation of their criticism.
Yeah.
Someone that just wants to criticize you for the sake of it, or to keep you down, will just criticize you for the sake of just because they feel like it.
Yeah.
So if someone just tells you something negatively but doesn't explain why they might be saying, or giving you maybe an alternative to what you're doing, they might say, well, I don't think you're doing this well, but actually if you did this instead, or I'm saying this because I want you to improve. If someone just says, oh, you look crappy in that dress, it's like, you know, that might be because they don't want you to wear that dress because it makes them feel uncomfortable, whatever it might be. But I think that's something to be aware of, that generally someone that will criticize you in a positive way, who's doing it in an encouraging way, will either explain why they're doing it or give you an alternative. They won't just leave you with a big bag of criticism to carry around with you.
And it is being able to take that criticism, because what sprang to mind in this conversation was somebody who asked me for their, you know, what they look like. They put a particular dress on and they were dressing up to go out, and she said, well, you know, does this look all right? And I said, well, could do with an iron. And I literally got, I don't do iron. I didn't ask it on. I'm going, whoa, you know, you asked me what it looked like. I said, it needs ironing. If you don't want to know the truth, then
don't ask the question.
So again, you know, be prepared for the truth. Maybe it might not be what you want to hear. And if you don't want to hear that, actually say, look, I know this is creased and I don't like ironing. That's, you know, I'm just asking, is it okay otherwise? You know, sort of be a bit more specific with your answers.
You define the word criticism as well, isn't it? I mean, to criticize is generally to say something negative to somebody, whereas to give feedback or to, you know, I guess it's, everyone has their own meaning of words. So if someone says I'm not, you know, if I'm being critical, I would say, okay, well, I understand that, not necessarily as a put down, but if I was to say to someone else, you know, I know I'm being critical, they'll be saying, well, you're criticizing me then, and they're going to take that very personally. So the word I love the word curious. So it's always to be curious about what people are saying and what people are doing and what they're doing it for. So if I'm going to give you some advice, or if I'm going to say something to you, if I can remain curious rather than criticized, if I can remain curious rather than insulted, then that will stop me going into a negative space. And I can say, okay, I'm curious as to why you said that. You know, and it's, again, you can then get the explanation. If they say, well, I just think it and blah, 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 then you know that they're not really doing it in a positive way. But I said this because, and hopefully they're going to give you a reasoned explanation of what they mean by that.
Yeah, and it is opening up the conversation, isn't it? Being able to dance in the conversation and not butt heads. Yeah.
And that I love that dance piece, because and even that thoughtfulness of, you know, of understanding what is that purpose, because as even with a relationship, being curious about, you know, are they there for a reason? Are they there for a season? Are they there for my whole lifetime, right? And so you still asking that critical question of, you know, is this person here for a reason? Are they talking, you know, am I in this relationship? You know, is it situational? Is it for me to grow? As Namsa, you talked about the person that gave you great feedback about the show. Or is this just a season? You know, it's just, they were here for when my child was small, and now as we are growing, then our interests are separating. And so sometimes that tension that we're talking about could happen because they were only supposed to be there for that reason or the season, not for our entire lifetime.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
I like that phrase. Sorry, are they here for a reason, a season, and what was the third thing you said?
Or a lifetime, right? Some of them are there for the life,
yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you see them again, you know, for 3 years later, you know, that same connection is just there throughout your entire lifetime. I have friends that I've known since I was 3, and I might not talk to them every year or but every time we come together, there's some connection that we can make, some synergy. But there's other people that they really did influence you, the words you used earlier. They influenced me where I am today in my career. Some choices I made, it was so positive, the influence. And I know that they were there for that reason, to help guide me on a different path. And so I appreciate those relationships, even though they didn't last for this lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's about, like you said, taking everything you can from those experiences, no matter how fleeting those experiences might be.
Yeah, and it's not making them wrong when they do disappear. You know, if they're there just for a reason, it is going to be short term, and then it doesn't make it wrong when they disappear and you move on. And I love that. I do love that phrase. I hadn't heard that before. Or are they here for a season? You know, so it's like that bit longer. And then for a lifetime, it's like, wow, nice. That's got me thinking. I like that. But at least it doesn't make the relationships wrong. It gives them a purpose, and it helps you to embrace them and move on, rather than maybe there's a part of you that's still hankering after one that you're thinking, oh, you know, what happened there? And that you're maybe not aware of that sort of inner hankering going on. You can go, oh, okay, they were there just for a reason. That's okay. And so maybe that you can feel that inner part of you then go, relax and move on with you, you know.
I think what Elena is saying as well, it made me realize before that, like when I was single and studying psychology, it made me realize actually when people enter your life, it's like men. If you are single, God will bring men to your life, but you're not meant to date that person. But if you don't know, you're gonna, because you become closer to them, you start dating them, and then in the relationship it doesn't work, and then you ask questions why this relationship didn't work. But then in the beginning, they were not there for you to date them. They were there to help you. So it made me define relationships, the season, this. It made me actually understand what does it mean about relationship. Even now on LinkedIn, when I'm chatting to people and men, I always explain to them that not every woman that enters your life, you are meant to fancy them. I always explain to them that every woman, when a woman enters your life, you can tell them how beautiful they are, but you don't have to say just because she has boobies, she's for date. So I always explain to them that some friendship are there. Maybe I'm there to give you an information about your business. Then if you start saying, I fancy you, I this, within 2 seconds, then you're pushing me away with that information, and then I'll be gone. So I always teach men, you say, learn to build a proper relationship, because this is a business side. So I never actually push them away. I always say, learn to build this. That's how you build a relationship. And you find those people, when you start talking deep, they have information that can help you, and I have information that can help them as well. But because they don't understand that even women, it's not just men. Women, when they see a good-looking man, they think, oh, it's for date. But sometimes that man is entering your life for a reason. Even if you are single, you have to define help and dating a life partner. But if you don't know that, you're just going to keep kissing.
Oh, lovely.
There's nothing wrong with kissing.
You're gonna keep kissing until you find the right one.
Yeah, I think that's about getting you need to be ready, don't you? You need to put yourself in that relationship space. It could give the kind of coaching that I do is getting people relationship ready, rather than dating ready. It's to know actually what you want from a relationship, and unless you just want to do some dating, I guess you need to get that understanding right in your life. Is what do you want someone in your life for? Do you just want someone to date and have some company whenever you feel like it, or do you actually want to have a deep and kind of more connected relationship? And again,
I agree so much. When you're coaching people, that's what I think about is how do we work on the first relationship, our own relationship with ourselves. And like you talked about, how do we get ourselves in that mental space to be in a long-term relationship? And that's why I coach about identity, but it goes along with what you said about what the work you do on making sure we're mentally ready for a relationship. Are we only wanting a friendship? Are we only wanting to go on dates? What is it that we desire, and what are we searching for so that we can know what space we're really in? I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, no. So it's definitely, you need to understand yourself, like you said, don't you? What do you actually want? What kind of space are you actually in? Otherwise, you're going to confuse yourself. If you think you want a relationship, but you just keep going on dates, maybe you don't actually want a relationship. You're not ready for the relationship, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you just kind of keep going on dates because you're not quite sure of your own mental space or your emotional space. And then you're never going to find the right type of person for you because you're not in the right space yourself to bring the actual relationship towards you that you're looking for. You're going to keep making the kind of errors if you're not clear on where you stand yourself.
Yeah, it is about being clear where you stand, and that, I think, can also help if you want to make a relationship that isn't working. Improve it, because then you can have the conversations that are there to be had, and because sometimes it's not having those conversations that's what makes it all fall apart, and you just then don't end up going anywhere. But if you can have that conversation and know how to have the conversation, know how to ask the question, and be open to giving an answer or a response, but if you don't know yourself, then it's really difficult to answer those questions, and that doesn't help either. So it all comes down to conversations and knowing yourself first, as you said. Sorry, is it Anne? Elena, sorry, yes. You were saying about knowing yourself first and having that relationship with yourself. When that's clear, then you can be clear and help others to understand where you're coming from. And that's then a way that you can improve relationships with other people. And especially if there is that one relationship that you really want to nurture and improve, if the other person also wants to maintain it and improve it, then, you work on that together and make sure that they know themselves, and you encourage them to get to know themselves first as well,
Yeah, and having those right relationships will upgrade your life and success through the right relationships. I'm afraid I need to shoot off today now, a bit early, because I've got other things that unfortunately I need to do.
Do you have any words of encouragement you would like to leave with our audience, the relationship guy?
So I did have a list of questions for people to ask themselves. So if people want to grab a bit of paper and a pen or whatever they write with nowadays, it could be on their tablets. It's just to ask yourself these questions: is who are the people that you spend most of your time with? Who are the people that you feel most connected to? How much time do you invest in relationships that you know are good for you? And how much time do you invest in those relationships that maybe aren't that good for you? And what are the outcomes of these interactions? And are they serving you in the best way possible? And then what could you do within yourself to change things?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, John. Have a lovely weekend. Love to you and your family.
Thank you. I'm going to go and drive a racing car, so I'm off.
Oh, have fun.
Okay.
You take care.
Yeah.
Look at yourselves. Bye for now.
Bye, John.
And there's some great questions there, and maybe it might be worth putting them in the post, because that was, you know, quick. That was a bit quick to sort of write down and follow. So it might be useful just to get those actually put in when you post this, maybe in some of the details.
I have to go and find John and write down the questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just listen back to this. But
yeah.
Yeah, and slow it down a bit. But because I was writing them down, and I only managed to get bits of 4 of them down. So
okay.
Yeah, that might be worth it. There's some really great questions there, and I think that viewers would really appreciate.
Yeah, I'll go back and find the questions and put them on the post.
Yeah, cool. So, and it'd be interesting to see what the response our viewers have to those questions and how it supports them. Yeah.
Definitely. It made me think about, who people need to be in a relationship as well. You kept talking about it, Carol, that it's a dance. And so who do they need to be? We often look for what we're going to receive in relationships, but who do we need to show up as in the relationship as well?
Yeah, definitely. It is about that beingness.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important with whatever decision you're making at that moment to actually ask yourself, if this is what I want, so how do I show up? And I realize with myself as well, when I'm making it, I never used to ask that question, but I asked myself when I was entering a relationship, because I was like, okay, understanding how relationship work. So I had to make sure that I'm showing up that way with what I'm looking for. But I've realized that so many people, they focus on what you're saying, focus on what they can get, but they don't actually focus on what they can bring as well. Because the character, when you write, this is the character that I want, you have to be that. The personality, you have to work on your personality as well. And relationships, I listened to will.i.am. He said he is who he is today because he meets people from all walks of life, a different nationality. But he says that although he has a busy schedule, but he has to take time to check on people, and that's how people brings opportunity to him. So when you actually check people out, are you okay? Even if you once a month, or he said because of his busy schedule, you can just check people out. He says you find that that's how you build relationships in different countries. And when someone gets the opportunity, is like, I see my phone and they're like, oh yeah, I have this opportunity, are you interested? Or I've had somebody looking for this, are you interested? So it does help.
I love that. Just making a note of that, because that's really important. It's taking the time out to check up on people. It shows you care, and you're doing it because you care. It's not just, I'm not hearing that he's doing it because he thinks, oh, what opportunity am I going to get from this? What he's finding is that opportunities then arise from that.
Yeah.
Because you're coming from you're being giving. You're being he's being, what am I looking for? Caring. He's being authentic, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
interested. He's
You
interested.
like it, Will.i.am. When I mentioned his name, I saw your smile.
Yeah, well, because you think about, I love how you talked about and being authentic, right? Like, because he's saying this is just who I am, and when I'm my authentic self, I'm open to receiving, I'm open to giving, I'm open to being myself where I am and showing up for others. And then that does get reciprocated. That energy, I was in, when I first came on, you're talking about that space, that energy, right? And so when we give off that energy, then we receive it back. What we give is oftentimes what we get back. And so it's always important to give with an open heart, a true heart, be authentic, and not looking to receive anything back. And it's oftentimes when we do that, then we get the biggest reward.
Yes. Yeah. There was something you said, Nomsa, just now about knowing how a relationship works. That sort of went ding, ding, ding. It's like, yeah, because I think I had no idea how relationships work. And I'm wondering how many people actually know how relationships work. And that's, I think, something is a key point there for people to actually get to grips with and ask themselves, well, do I really know how a relationship works? And maybe it's also looking back at, well, how do I want a relationship to work? And how can I make it work? But that just, well, how does a relationship work? It's like, well, actually, I had no idea. You know, and I don't know, I still do. I think I'm getting there, you know, because I can remember often sort of thinking as a child, well, how do people know what to say? You know, how do they, I see them talking and I'm thinking, but how do you know what to say? And if you've got that going on in your head, it's how far do you get in a conversation? How far do you get in actually stepping forward and starting a conversation and starting a relationship? You know, don't get very far.
That's true. I mean, even if they've grown up in a family where there's two parents that are loving, how do you, again, you see them and hear them modeling this communication, but oftentimes they don't know how to do it themselves, to replicate it. And then on the other hand, if you've been around, if your parents either divorced or had a tumultuous relationship, then, you know, you've seen that model and you might not want that same kind of relationship. So then what words do I use to, and now in a relationship when I'm upset? Like, how do I communicate then? When I really want to show love, as Namsa said, I don't need to be on LinkedIn just saying, hey, let's go out on a date. You know, and so many times we don't know how to operate.
You have to be in a loving space, a receiving place, a spirit of love. Like, how do I serve you? And that's that mindset. It does help when you actually know in a place where you talk about when you're giving, don't expect anything in return. It actually does help when you give with all your heart. And whatever you give, you will be rewarded. I look at myself, I don't have many friends, but I prefer to have quite a few who are genuine, who are really, and those people, I've never really think about them as my friends. I think about them as basically the people, they are part of my family. It's like in Ngozi talk show. I don't have many speakers, but I know that the speakers that I have, if I'm going away, I know that I tell them I'm going away. They become Ngozi, they take over, they broadcast, because I basically see them, they're determined, they want to be part of it. So I know that I can be free. So when I'm booking something, I don't have to think about who is going to run the show. I just say, I just put a message. They're there. I said to come out. There's no need for me to have 100 speakers if I'm not connected to them. I just need few. If they're not there available that day, I prefer to broadcast on my own, because I know that I have people that have my back that say, Nomsa, I'm here for you. So that, to me, that works, to have fewer people around you knowing that they have your back. And that's the reason why I have few speakers. I could have loads, but I have few, because I know that I'm gonna build a relationship with these people, and they're gonna be part of Ngozi Talk Show. Carol Ann knows that when I'm going away, I just put a message. You see, she got scared last time. I put a message. I was like, I'm going away. Would you like to host the show, or Amanda? And I saw her hesitating, and she kept asking me questions. And I was like, I hope she says, no, so I'm going to do it. And in the end, she said, I'll do it.
Yep, you did it.
Yeah, and she did it. So to me, it shows that people are there, not just there, they are determined, they want to do the work. So that way I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, they say that's like a difference between being just a part of a community and being a tribe.
Yeah.
And you've created a tribe and not just a community. And so that's the beautiful thing, is that, you know, we have to look for people that are in our tribe, who we can count on, who things are just unconditional. And the beautiful thing is that when I heard you talk about that with Carol, even though she might have had a little bit of hesitation, you believed in her, which allowed her to believe in herself. And isn't that what we want in our relationship?
And I was meant to come on, but then I was like, no, I don't have to actually. I'm away. I can't come on. I'm in a hotel, so they can handle everything. So I was like, I just watched them. I just went to the sun in the park and just came out of the hotel and just watched them. I was like, I'm not going in. They've got it all under control. So thank you so much, guys. Any words of encouragement, Dr. Elena, before we leave?
Well, you know, I just want to encourage people to first work on themselves. That's always that identity piece. And then when you work on ourselves, then we can be our best to be in a wonderful and productive relationship. So think about how you can enhance your own self first before you look for changing or looking for something in the partner.
Thank you so much, Carol Ann.
Yes, I totally agree with that one. And what I'd say is, if there's a relationship that isn't working, look at the reflection and look inwards. What in you is there to be healed? What have they come to teach you? Is this a relationship that's just there for a reason, and they come to teach you something? Because once you've learned the lesson, things will change, and they may stay and it may improve, or they might just go. So look at that reflection, because that way you are taking control of the situation. You're not slipping into, I'm a victim here, I can't do anything. You're stepping up and being creator of your own life and your own relationships. And that's the best way to be, in my book. So yeah, and you can do it. Anyone can do that. It's just having that courage to just go, okay. Because sometimes looking at it and going, well, where's the reflection, can be a bit daunting, because sometimes you don't like to see that reflection. But believe me, I've done that a few times and gone, no, no, that can't possibly be true. And yet I've looked at it and then looked at reflection and gone, and the shift that's happened once I've healed that has been absolutely tremendous. So it's worth it. It's worth it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Ann. For me, I leave you with this: seek to understand before trying to be understood. That works a lot in relationships. And we are here Monday to Friday at Ngozi Talk Shows. So 1 p.m. UK time. If you are watching this video later, please press some heart button. Share some love with your audience and your family and friends. God bless you, and live with grace, everyone.